Do hips was definitely part of my process today, but I'll add in a couple extra things that'll add a little bit of twist into the hips as well. So let's do this. All right, let's get on to standing position first, and then we'll work on different variations of hips. So we're going to take the feet about hips distance apart. Take a moment to just calm your mind, take some deep breaths. Stretch your fingers toward the ground in Tadasana, mountain pose. Zip up the low belly. Roll the shoulders onto your back. And take the arms up on the inhale. Look up toward the thumbs. Little tiny back bend, so not huge. You're just really lifting and stretching and looking up toward the sky a little bit. And then come on up. We're going to do sort of a half sun salutation here. It's going to warm us up really nicely. So release the hands. As you exhale, you're going to sink down into an Utkatasana variation and swing your arms up toward the sky. So we're opening up those rotator cuffs a little bit. And then as you inhale, come back up toward the sky again. And then exhale, sink down and stretch your arms back and up. And then inhale, come on up. And then just do this at your own breathing rate. Exhale, sink down and swing the arms. Inhale, come on up. Exhale. Do like 3 more of these. All right, bring the hands into your heart center. Take a moment and just check in. All right, take the arms up on the inhale, look up toward the thumbs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down halfway. Taps the feet, inhale. And exhale, downward dog. All right, once you're in your down dog, walk it out a little bit. Relax your neck, shake out your head gently, nod your head gently. Zip up the low belly. Lift your armpits and lift your arm muscles up against your arm bones and roll your shoulders onto your back. Look up, inhale, step forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips and hang. Inhale, take it to the sky. And exhale, arms to the sides. Let's do 1 more of these. Take the arms up on the inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step back. Lift your chin as you lower down. Go and drop the knees. Inhale to the tops of the feet. Maybe try to get the thighs off the ground. Exhale, downward dog. All right, once you're here, relax your neck again. Gentle shake, gentle nod. And then take your left hand and grab any part of your right leg. So left hand to the right thigh, right calf, right ankle, whatever works. Look under your right armpit and gently tug on your leg. All right, release. Let's go for the other side. Any part of the left leg, grab on and pull gently. Look under your left armpit. And let that go. Look up at your hands. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, take it to the sky. Exhale, arms to the sides. All right, sun salutation B. Big toes together, heels slightly apart. And then take the arms up on the inhale, sit back into Utkatasana. So we're going to do a little bit of a twist here. It's not going to be the normal twist. You're going to have your arms extended. So twist and swing your arms out. Wherever you end up is fine. Just breathe deeply. All right, come back up on the inhale. And sink down and swing your arms out again to the left. And inhale, take the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Taps the feet, inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Right leg lunges. Left heel pivots and plants. Take it into warrior one. So, once you're in your warrior one, lift your front hip points a little bit. Press into the outer edge of your back foot. Drop your shoulders. Look up toward the thumbs. Take a moment and catch your breath. And big exhale. Take the hands down to the ground. See if you can lift your right foot up and step it back rather than dragging it back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Left leg lunges. Come on up. Press into the outer edge of your back foot. Try to lift your front hip points up a little bit. Drop your shoulders. Find your breath. And big exhale. Hands down to the ground. Step your left leg back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Walk your down dog out a little bit. And then grab the back of your left ankle with your right foot. Press your left heel toward the ground. So relax your neck. And we're simply going for a calf stretch, so don't feel like your left heel has to come all the way to the ground. All right, switch feet. Grab the back of your right ankle. Press down. Relax the neck a little bit. All right, let that go. Look up. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, fold. Sink into Utkatasana. Take the arms up and look up. Exhale, straighten the legs. Arms to the sides. We're going to add a little bit here. Take the arms up on the inhale, sit back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step back to a plank. Press forward, lower down. Inhale, tops the feet. Exhale, downward dog. Left heel pivots and plants. Right foot lunges forward. Warrior one on the inhale. And then once you're in warrior one, we're going to go for a little bit more hips here. So this is where blocks might be really handy. Take your hands down to the ground. And if ground doesn't seem like it's close enough, use your block. You can slide that left foot back a little bit too. Try to get this thigh a little closer to parallel. Press into the outer edge of your back foot. And you're going to walk over to the left corner of your mat. Flare your hips out so your inner thighs are stretching back. Left inner thigh is lifting up against the thigh bone. And then tack your outer right hip back towards your inner left thigh. And then see if you can walk your hands a little bit farther away from you. See if you can just stretch out a little bit more through the spine. Drag your feet toward each other on the mat, so kind of pull them toward each other. All right, walk it back to the center, and then you're going to walk your right foot off the mat to about 3 o'clock. This is one of my favorites these days. All right, drop your left hip to the ground for a moment, and then you may have to readjust your foot a little bit. So once you put your right foot somewhere where it's comfortable, able to press down flat, Also check your left arm. Left arm should be not perfectly perpendicular to the ground. You should actually have your left hand slightly in front of your shoulder, so a little bit of an angle. And then we'll do a couple little things for the hips here. So as you inhale, you're gonna lift your hip up, press into your right foot, press into the pinky edge of your left foot, take your right arm toward your ear. Then as you exhale, come down to your hip again. We'll do 4 more of these. Inhale, lift up, push into the pinky edge of your left foot and into the bottom of your right foot. Exhale, come back down. 3 more. And 1 more. All right, turn forward, bring that right hand to the ground, step back to down dog. Walk it out a little bit. All right, let's go for left leg into warrior 1. Lunge your left leg forward, drop your back heel, come into warrior 1. So you can get a little bit more space between the feet. Take your hands down to the ground and do a little bit more adjusting if you want. And then walk your hands over to the right corner of your mat. Flare your inner thighs back for a moment. Firm up your inner right thigh against the thigh bone. Tap your outer left hip bone back towards your right thigh again. Drag your feet toward each other and then see if you can walk a little farther away with your fingers. Big breaths. Okay, walk it back to the center. Walk your left foot off the mat to about 9 o'clock. Come to the pinky edge of your right foot. And then you're going to lower down to your right hip for just a moment so you can do some rearranging. Get that left foot flat on the ground. Right leg is straight. And then make sure this right arm is a little bit of an angle, not perfectly perpendicular. And then you're going to do 5 lifts here. So inhale, lift your bottom hip and take that left arm over. Exhale, relax. Keep pushing into this left leg or left foot. 4 more. Two more. All right, and then bring your left hand back to the ground. Step back to down dog momentarily. Walk it out. And look up. Inhale, step forward. All right, let's hang for a moment. So take your feet about hips distance apart. Grab your elbows. Zip up your belly and hang. Press your top forearm towards your bottom forearm. And if you would like to, you can kind of swing gently from side to side. Keep zipping up your low belly though. All right, hands to the hips, bend the knees, inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, take your arms to the sides. Okay, we're gonna go into a bit of a mandala, which means we're gonna turn in a circle on our mat. So take the arms up on the inhale, sink back into Utkatasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step back. Press forward, lift your chin, lower down. Inhale onto the tops of the feet. Exhale, downward dog. Left heel pivots and plants. Right foot lunges forward. Warrior 1 on the inhale. And then open up for warrior 2. So just take a moment, get that right foot lined up with the heel or arch of your back foot. Drop your shoulders. Lift your triceps. Look straight down your middle right finger. There's a little bit of a tendency to kind of lean into this posture. So pretend somebody's grabbing your back hand and pull your torso a little bit more into your back leg. All right, straighten the front leg, turn the right toes forward, turn the left toes toward the back of your mat, and come into warrior 2 on the left side. Then you turn the palm of the left hand toward the sky and come into exalted warrior. that left leg really likes to start straightening here. Make sure there's a nice bend in it. All right, come back into warrior two, straighten your front leg. And then you're gonna pinwheel your hands down to the ground and lift your left leg up toward the sky. All right, a little bit of core here. So bring your left knee in, shoulders over the wrist, claw the ground, try to touch the back of your left arm. And then inhale, extend. And then bring your knee forward, see if you can touch your forehead. Tuck your chin into your chest. Inhale back behind you. And see if you can come forward and try to touch the back of your right arm. Inhale back behind you. And exhale, lunge that left leg forward. So from here, you're going to drop that back knee and come into a little twist. Plant the hand, your right hand. Turn your left toes out to the left. Bring your left hand to your thigh. Roll your left shoulder onto your back. All right, you can go a little deeper if you'd like. So if it feels feasible, bend your back knee. Maybe reach back and grab the foot. All right, so unwind, bring your hands back down to the ground, step back to down dog, and lift your right leg up. Look up and lunge your right leg forward. We're gonna come into a high lunge. We're gonna get a little bit more into the quadriceps here. So your left knee doesn't need to drop a lot. As long as you feel a quadricep stretch, you're doing great. So drop the shoulders, zip up the belly, then exhale, drop your left knee to whatever feels good. And then inhale, come back up. Then exhale, drop the knee. Inhale, back up. 3 more. All right, now let's try warrior three. So you're gonna take your weight into your right leg. And this is a great warrior three, especially if your ankles are weak or your balance is wobbly. And eventually you're gonna go forward more. Hands can come into the heart center if you want. Arms can go out to the side, your choice. Zip up the belly. All right, come back down. Drop your left heel and open up for warrior two. You're gonna straighten that front leg and then come into triangle. Reach through the right hand side, right hand down to the leg. Left arm toward the sky. Gently twist your rib cage toward the ceiling. Stick your tailbone out a little bit, so make sure you have a little bit of a curve in your low back. Zip up the low belly. So you can stay here, this is great. If you'd like to make this a little bit more core oriented, then take that left arm next to your ear. Lift the right rib cage, and then maybe take that right arm up. Maybe bring your right arm next to your ear as well. Keep pushing down through your back heel. All right, bring your hands to your hips. Come on up, turn your right toes forward. So the outer edges of your feet are parallel to the edges of the mat. Lift your heart on the inhale. Exhale, forward bend. Squeeze your elbows toward each other, like you're squeezing a beach ball between your elbows. Lift your chin a little bit. Press down into your inner heels. I like this variation because your hands are on your low back next to your spine, your thumbs are. So you can actually kind of gently press into the flesh and muscle right on either side of your spine with your thumbs. Kind of push that muscle toward the shoulder blades. All right, bend the knees. Inhale, come on up. Turn your left toes toward the front of your mat. We're going to come into Parshvakonasana, side angle. So you're going to come into warrior two first. And then bring your left forearm to your left thigh. Turn your right thumb down and bring the right hand behind you and see if you can grab a piece of clothing on the left side or your inner thigh. If you are a little bit more flexible, you can bring a little bit more space between the feet, kind of slide that right foot back a little bit more, get the left thigh parallel, and you may want to take your left hand to the ground. But if you're feeling a little too tight for that, keep that forearm up on the thigh. And don't forget to breathe. All right, pinwheel your hands down to the ground. Press forward, lower down. Inhale, up dog, and then go back to child's pose for a moment. All right, let's do the other side. So look up at your hands, spread your fingers out wide. Flip your toes over, find a downward dog. Right heel pivots and plants, left foot lunges forward. Warrior one on the inhale, warrior two on the exhale. So check the feet, make sure your foot lines up with heel arch of your back foot. Look straight down your middle left finger. Straighten up that front leg, turn the left toes in, turn the right toes toward the back. Come into warrior two again. Once you have a nice warrior two, turn the palm of the right hand up toward the sky and come up into exalted warrior. Make sure that right knee has a little bit of a bend in it. All right, come down, pivot your hands to the ground on either side of your right foot. Step back and lift that right leg toward the sky. All right, we're gonna bring that right knee in. Try to touch the back of your right arm with your right knee. And then inhale back behind you. And then exhale, come forward again. Try to touch your forehead with your knee. Inhale back behind you. Try to touch the back of your left arm, shoulders over the wrists. Inhale back behind you. And then right leg comes forward. Drop your back leg. All right, little twist. So from here, plant that left hand, turn the right toes out to the right, bring your right hand to your thigh, look over your right shoulder, roll that left shoulder onto your back as well. This might be exactly where you need to be. If you want to add in that back leg, you can do so. Bend the leg, reach back, grab the foot. All right, pinwheel your hands down to the ground. Step back to down dog. Lift your left leg toward the sky. Let's try warrior three. So step your left leg forward. Come into your high lunge. Zip up the belly. Try to pull your front hip points up a little bit. And we'll do 5 little dips for the quadricep. So exhale, drop your right knee a little bit. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, drop. Inhale, 3 more. All right, now we're going to come forward into warrior three. So same thing here. Arms out front is the most difficult version. So if you want to make it a little bit more chill, hands in the heart center, or arms out to the sides. Zip up the low belly. Make sure you get a little bit of a bend in the left knee. All right, bring it down, turn it into a warrior two for a moment. And then we'll do our triangle. So stretch out that left leg. Big inhale, drop the shoulders, reach through the left-hand side. Bring the hand down to the leg, right arm toward the sky. Look up toward the thumb. And this is great. You can hang out here, but if you want to add in some core, take that right arm next to your ear first, lift your left rib cage, and then maybe take the left hand off your leg and maybe bring your left arm up. All right, hands to the hips. Inhale, come on up. Turn your left toes forward. This time we're going to try to grab our big toes. Lift your heart on the inhale. Exhale, forward bend. Hands around the thighs, shins, or grab the big toes. Roll the shoulders onto your back. Inhale, stretch your heart forward. Exhale, hinge. So you're pulling a little bit on your legs or on your toes, but you want to keep your chest open and your chin up. And then make sure you got some weight on the inner heels as well as the outer heels. All right, bend the knees, bring the hands to the hips. Inhale, come on up. Turn your right toes toward the front of your mat. Come into your warrior two. We're going to come into Parsvakonasana. Right forearm to the right thigh. Left thumb points down. Bring the hand behind the back. Grab a piece of clothing or your inner right thigh. And then you can stay here, or you can put a little bit more space between the feet and bring your hand to the ground. All right, pinwheel your hands down to the ground and step back to child's pose and just take a breather. See what has changed if you feel a little bit warmer. All right, look up at your hands, spread your fingers out wide. Come forward to hands and knees, and you're going to flip those toes over and find your downward dog. So we're going to do kind of a weird variation of down dog. Try to keep pressing your chest towards your toes, but you're going to bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, and try to get your shins roughly parallel to the ground. Keep pressing forward into your hands and sticking your butt out, like pushing your hips back toward the wall behind you. And this is, for different people, difficult in different ways. Some people it's the shoulders, some people it's legs and hips. Could be both. All right, look up, step forward. Grab your elbows again and hang. Zip up your low belly. Swing gently from side to side. Take your hands to your hips, squeeze your elbows toward the ceiling, bend your knees, big inhale, come up with a flat back. And exhale, take the arms to the sides. We'll just take a moment here, check in with yourself, breathe. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is standing pigeon. So I'll demonstrate facing you. You're going to spread your toes out on your left foot, bend your knee, and then cross your right ankle on top. So in a perfect world, knees pointing out to the right may not actually be a perfect world. Flex those right toes back towards your knee. Make sure you've got a nice straight ankle here. And then you're going to keep your hands on your hips and start bending your standing leg. So as you come down, you should feel this in your outer right hip. And if you're a little bit tight, then you may want blocks to help stabilize you. So you may want to be able to bring your hands to your blocks. So breathe deeply. And most people feel this on the outer hip, down the IT band. Don't forget to breathe. If you're feeling this in the knee at all, then you probably have a curled ankle. So flex the toes back. Pull that pinky toe back toward the knee a little bit more. This next part is optional because not everybody has knees that can do this. But if it feels okay, go for it. And I like having the blocks to help out. So you can keep bending your standing leg and essentially sit down on your heel. And this is great for ankle strengthening, and this is why I like it. So breathing deeply, core is engaged. Ankle might feel a little wobbly, but that's kind of the point, is to help it strengthen a little bit more. And you may want to just play with trying to balance, hands in your heart center. But you have blocks here. So even if you don't have the strength yet to bring your hands in heart center, you can still hang out. Now, traditionally, you come back out of this the same way you go into it, but I find that sometimes that's a little extra stressful on the knee. So when we come out of this, you can do it that way if you want, but you may also just want to take your right foot and put it on the floor and then do a forward bend. All right, big inhale as you come up, and let's go for the other side. Spread your toes out on your right foot. Make sure you've got a nice wide base there in your foot. Take a little bend in that right leg. Cross your left ankle on top. Flex the toes back. And then hands on the hips or bring them to blocks. You can also bring them to the ground if you happen to be a little bit more flexible. Keep breathing. Take some big, big breaths here. So the deeper your breaths are, the more your hips are going to relax a little bit. They don't always go hugely relaxed, but each time you exhale, you'll notice they relax just a tiny bit more. All right, so if you'd like, you can go down deeper. You can also stay here. So if you want to use those blocks and come down and see if you can sit down on your heel, go for it. If that's just too much for the knees, skip it. Big inhales, big exhales. Once you're sitting down, so your perineum, the muscle between your anus and your genitals, is supposedly where you need to sit down on your heel. You actually have some wiggle room on that though. And then you may want to just kind of play with, can I get my hands into my heart center and balance here? If you're not quite ready for that, keep your hands on your blocks. And again, if you've got young, sprightly knees and you feel fine standing back up this way, you can, or you can just take that foot off and then forward bend. All right, bend the knees, inhale, take it up, and exhale, hands in your heart center. All right, so let's add in a little bit of quadriceps here. You're gonna spread your toes out on your left foot. Again, make a nice wide base. Grab the top of your right foot. So if you have knees, again, that don't bend this way, whether you have just a replacement knee or grumpy knees, you can put a strap around your ankle so your foot can be down here and you can still get your quadricep stretch. So strap or foot, stretch your knee toward the ground, zip up the belly. Take the left arm up toward the sky. And this is great. You're getting a quadricep stretch, super important. If you want to go a little deeper, you need to make sure your spine is lifting up even more. So you grab from the inside of your right foot, lift up more through the spine, pull the belly in, and then push that right foot into the right hand. And then just a little bit, bring this right rib cage forward. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just be aware of those muscles. All right, and then come out of that one. Let's go for the other side. Spread your toes out on your right foot. Make a wide base. Grab the top of your left foot. Zip up the belly. Stretch your knee toward the ground. Again, use your strap if you need a little extra space for your knee. Take your right arm toward the sky. This is all about engaging the front of the core here. Belly in, front ribs in, spine lifting nice and long. Then you're going to grab the inside of your left foot, lift up a little bit taller. Take that left foot into the left hand, and then slightly bring that left rib cage forward. All right, and then come on out, and all right, we're gonna do one more for the hips. So you might want a wall for this one, or you can use your block. So if you're using a wall, you take your hand to a wall roughly, so you're parallel roughly to the ground. Otherwise, you're gonna use your block. So get a block here, and if you can't grab your big toe comfortably, you're gonna put a strap around your foot and put your hand on the block. So the block will be under your left shoulder. You're gonna start in your left leg as the standing leg. Take that leg, that weight into the left leg. Look up and stretch your heart forward. So again, if you're pushing into a wall, you can put your hands against the wall. And then keep lengthening and take your right leg out to the side. So I'm making this look really easy. Most people don't take their legs up as high. Most people are a little bit lower here, which is fine. We're working on strengthening the outer right hip. The other trick here is sticking your butt out. So really flare your hips back, and you might need a little bit of a bend in the standing leg. All right, and then bring that leg back down, and let's go for the other side. So, same thing here. Switch sides for you. All right, so block is going to go under your right shoulder, lining up roughly with your pinky toe. Use your strap or grab your big toe, or you don't even have to do that really. So you can just extend forward. When you're ready, take your weight into your right leg, get that left foot up a little bit. Reach your heart forward and your tailbone back, so get really long through the spine. Stretch out in 2 directions, and then take that leg out to the left. And it doesn't matter how high it is. What matters is, do you feel your outer hips? All right, and then bring that down. And come on up. Nice job. Okay, so we're going to go for coming to the ground. So from here, take the arms up on the inhale and look up toward the thumbs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. All right, we're going to come into pigeon. Normally, I say do pigeon on your back, and you can if you need that option, but I want to try a pigeon here on the front that's going to turn into something else. So right knee is front. In this particular pigeon, I'll start from the other side. So in this particular pigeon, if you're really flexible in the hips, usually your shin is roughly parallel to the front of your mat. But what I want everybody to do here is not try to go for that super flexible pigeon. Keep your right foot pretty close to your left hip. So as you're doing this, right foot pretty close to the left hip, right knee pointing out to about 2 o'clock. Breathe deeply. We're going to turn this into a twist one direction and then twist the other direction. So you got your block up at the top of your mat here. Go ahead and see if you can come down a little bit closer to the ground. If this is just not an option, if your knees don't do this, by all means, do this variation where you're on your back, crossing your right ankle just below the left knee on the thigh, and pulling in. So definitely choose the pigeon that's good for your practice. And then from here, we're going to take about 3 or 4 more big breaths. Tighten up your left thigh just a little bit. So this back thigh should be engaging so your knee's not digging into the ground. All right, we're going to do a twist first. So make sure you're zipping up your low belly. You're going to bring your left forearm in front, right hand out to the side. You're going to push into the ground with the right hand. Lengthen out through the spine, and then twist and look over the right shoulder. If this feels really good, stay here. If you feel like you need an extra twist, a little bit deeper twist, you can put your head on your block and bring your left shoulder to the ground. You can also make a fist with your left hand and then place your right hand flat on the fist and push the two into each other. So it's a nice, deeper twist, but be honest with yourself. Decide if you actually need to go there or not. All right, now we're going to go the other direction. And this is a fun variation. So your right knee is out to the right, your right foot is close to your hip. Now, you're going to bring that left foot back. So essentially, your right foot and left knee line up in the same plane. If you're really flexible through this inner thigh and groin area, your right knee might also line up with the left knee. You can pull that left knee back a little bit more. So here you are. And then you're going to go for a little bit of a back bend. So you're going to take your right hand back behind you and take your left arm toward the sky. Now take that left hand down and see if you can find your left foot with your left hand. And then find a little bit more of a back bend. Open up the chest and lift it toward the sky. So for me, this is pretty easy, but that's just because yours are ballet, inner thigh is pretty loose. For a lot of people, this is huge, this inner thigh stretch here. So you're just adding a little bit of a back bend into this inner thigh stretch. All right, and then release, and you're gonna step back to down dog and walk it out. All right, let's go for the other side. So left leg forward, or if you're on your back, cross it over. And then again, you're not gonna go for a full blown, I'm trying to get super open on the hips variation. You can have that left foot a little bit closer to that right hip. Take some nice deep breaths, tighten up that right thigh so your knee doesn't dig into the ground. Come down a little bit closer. Zip up your belly and breathe. All right, let's go for the twist. So right forearm in front, left hand out to the side, lengthen and twist. This is great. You can hang out right here. If you want a little extra, you can put the block under your head, come down to your shoulder. Make a fist with your right hand and press your left hand flat into the fist. And that'll help roll those shoulders onto your back. And then find the breath. All right, and then unwind. So I'm going to turn away from you because it might be useful to see what my feet are doing. So from here, you're going to start turning to the right and bend your right knee. So that right foot's going to pull back a little bit. And then you're going to line up your left foot with your right knee. If you're a little bit more flexible through the groin, you can line up your knees with each other so they're all in the same line. Nice deep breaths. And then you're going to take your left hand back and take your right arm and reach up toward the sky. Get both shoulders onto your back. And then quite possibly take both hands behind you, push into your fingertips, and then open up your heart. Push your knees into the ground. All right, and then unwind and find a downward dog. Walk it out a little bit. Let's try for quadriceps. Bring your knees to the ground and separate your feet enough that you could try to sit down between your feet on the ground. So if you can't do that, this is where the blocks are super handy. You can use a bolster, blocks, a blanket. You can use 2 blocks. You can even go for 3 blocks. So if you cannot sit comfortably on the ground, if your knees are yelling at you, then take a block and stick it underneath your hips and come up a little bit higher. If your quads are yelling at you, I'm not as concerned about that. They are meant to do some nice stretching out, and as long as we're not getting into the knees, you're in good shape. So big inhales, big exhales, and then possibly lean back a little bit. So if you're on a block, you're not going to lean back a lot. What's most interesting about this posture is that you want to use your inner thighs a little bit as well. So you're going to squeeze your inner thighs in, and you're also going to reach your knees forward. So that's going to engage these quadriceps, because the quadriceps are the muscles that straighten your leg, and the hamstrings are the muscles that bend your leg. So essentially, if you can just emulate the idea of straightening more, of pushing forward to your knees, you're going to get a great quadricep stretch. If you happen to be on the more flexible side, then you want to go a little bit deeper if you're not getting anything out of this. So maybe you're here and you're thinking you need more. Make sure you're pressing your feet into the ground, spreading the toes out, make sure the ankles aren't super curled in. And then you might want to come down to forearms. That might be a really good option. If you feel really comfortable, you might need to adjust your hips and get your hips to stretch out a little bit more, reach your tailbone forward, and you might come down to the full-blown hero pose. But Don't feel like you have to come here. Most people don't have the quadriceps right up front to do that. What you're going for is just the stretch. The shape eventually comes with more practice. So big breathing, squeeze those inner thighs in just a tiny bit in toward the midline. They don't have to touch. Press your feet into the ground, and that will release some of the tension in the knees if you happen to have a little bit in the knees. All right, we're going to go for an inner thigh stretch, the B.K.S frog. So from this place, we're going to take a block on each side of your mat, half on and half off the mat. And we're going to go for a little bit more inner thigh here. So once you've got this, your knees are going to come to the outside edges of your blocks. So one knee and then the other knee. And then you're going to come down to your forearms. Feet can come into the midline, or a little bit more intense variation is shins parallel to the sides of the mat. So whatever works for you, breathe deeply. Slightly tighten up your buttocks. Make sure you've got some musculature working on the other side of the hips. Big breaths. Anytime you need to come out of this posture, do so. So don't suffer through it. Zip up your low belly a little bit. Make sure it's not hanging there. Great. It's a little harder to get out of this than it is to get into it. So be slow about it. Breathe deeply. Bring your feet into the midline. Walk your hands back. And then come into a little squat here. Same thing. If your knees don't like the squat, sit up a little higher. You can sit on a block. You can also do squats up high like this. This is fine too. So from here, let's do an arm balance. And let's go for regular Bakasana. So I like the variation of Bakasana where you step onto a block first. It just gets your hips up a little higher. Since guys have a center of gravity that's more around their bellies, and women's center of gravity is really in their hips, especially for women, it's nice to just be able to get the hips up a little higher so that you can engage your belly muscles more. So you're going to step on the block if you'd like. Plant the hands, claw the ground. You can bring your shins to the backs of your arms or to the outsides of your arms. Squeeze in or squeeze down. Zip up your belly, look up, claw the ground, and then you can play with this. So if you have weak wrists, you may not want to get your feet up at all. You may just want to get some weight into your hands and work on this. Otherwise, maybe one foot up and eventually the other foot up. All right, and then when you're done, come on down. Nice work. Okay, so there's a really fun twist that we can do. So you bring your feet out in front of you, and then you're going to swing your legs over to the left. And then you're going to take the top of your left foot on the ground. Actually, let's do it the other way. You're going to bring the top of your right foot on the ground, and you're going to place the top of your left ankle in the arch of your right foot. So right foot on the ground, top of the right foot mostly on the ground, and then you're going to lay the top of your left ankle down on the inside arch of your right foot. And then we're going to go for a twist. So you might need your block. Take your block over to the right. You're going to take your left hand to your right knee, lift up tall, and I like pushing into a block back here to get my spine a little bit longer. And then look over the right shoulder and twist. And then you can go a little deeper if you want to. You can take your hands to the ground and gently twist your left side toward the ground and lift your right side. Zip up your belly. All right, and then come on out of that one, and then take your legs in front, and then swing the legs over to the other side. And then you're going to place your left foot on the ground, top of the left foot, and place the top or the front of your right ankle right into that inner arch of that left foot. And then same thing here, your block, just get a little bit more lift. Sit up tall and twist and take that right hand to the left knee and gently pull on that left knee. And look over your left shoulder. Zip up the belly. You're getting a really minor foot massage here. And then just a little bit more twist. So take your hands a little bit wide, and then a little bit of a push-up, just bend your elbows slightly, and then lift your left rib cage and drop your right rib cage. Zip up the belly. All right, and then come on out of that one. All right, bottoms of the feet together. Open up the feet like a little book. Bring your forehead towards your toes. All right, now extend your legs. So take the arms and legs out to the sides. You're gonna bring your hands to your shins, or you're gonna grab your big toes, or if you're pretty tight through the groin and inner thigh area and hamstring area still, you can bring your hand to a block. So hands to blocks or reaching out, and then you're gonna lift your spine. Breathe deeply, tighten up the tops of the thighs, make sure your kneecaps are pointing up and your toes are pointing up. So there's a little bit of a tendency for some of us to roll in or roll backwards. So make sure the feet are pointing up, knees are pointing up, and that's going to dictate how far you go in your forward bend. And for a lot of us, this is our forward bend sitting up tall. So big breathing. All right, so you could do this with both legs straight, but most people are pretty tight. So we're going to twist and go for a forward bend. And if that feels really impossible because of this left leg, then you're just going to bring your left foot into your groin. So extended legs or one foot into the groin. So pick one, lift and twist towards your right leg, and then go for your front foot. So you may actually use your strap on this one. We're just going for a really minor twist here. Lifting your right rib cage and dropping your left rib cage. And again, you can do this with straight legs or left foot in, but breathe deeply. All right, lift up nice and tall, and let's go for the other side. So again, you can extend your left leg, bring your right foot in, and then you're going to twist toward that left leg and come into a forward bend. And use your strap if you'd like. All right, come on up, and now we're going to do a really nice thing for the hips and the pelvis. So you're going to lie down on your back, grab your block, press down into the ground, and get your block underneath your pelvis, really close to the tailbone, so under your SI joint. And your SI joint is a little triangular joint made up of 5 fused vertebrae, and they are right next to the tailbone. So hang out here for a moment, let your hips just rest on the block. Okay, so grab the sides of your mat, roll the shoulders underneath you, press the back of your head into the ground, And then you're going to push down into your inner heels and lift your hips up off the block. Squeeze your inner thighs just a tiny bit closer to each other. But you want to maintain that neutral feeling that you felt when you were on the block. So if you have lost that neutral feeling, come back down, find it on the block. Zip up the low belly. Gently press the back of the head into the ground. And then try again. Push down into the inner heels, lift the hips up. What you're trying not to do is you're trying not to clench your buttocks. So as you lift up, your butt muscles, your glute muscles do engage a little bit, but what you want to do is not clench. So as you're engaging, just like how do you relax and get that neutral feeling in your pelvis again? And it helps to zip up the belly, and it helps to get more of that work happening in your quadriceps. So if the fronts of your thighs are burning, that's a good thing. All right, come back down to your block. Take a moment and just rest there. All right, so we're going to do a fun inversion here, which is called shoulder stand, and it's really interesting. Shoulder stand used to be taught all the time until I realized that maybe Americans had really, really straight necks. So there's an Iyengar way of teaching shoulder stand that is really nice, where your neck doesn't have to curve as much, and it gives you some nice flexibility and padding under the shoulders. So what you want is at least a blanket here. You don't have to have a blanket. Sometimes it's helpful to have one. Sometimes you can just roll up your mat. So if you don't have a blanket around, you can just double over your mat and get a little extra padding. But if you know that you have a tight neck and that you tend to have some limited flexibility in the neck, a blanket's really great. So if you're choosing not to do this, you're just going to put your legs up against the wall. So you can go one blanket or two blankets, but you're going to have them nice and lined up here. Iyengar was a very fastidious man about how he had things folded and lined up. So you want everything nice and lined up here. I'll go ahead and show with two blankets. One is usually sufficient. And then you're going to have these blankets near the wall. So I'll demonstrate. The shoulders are on the blanket, your head is on the ground. So your head is not on the blanket. That's really, really important. That's how your neck gets that extra flexibility to work with. So you're going to come up against the wall. And again, make sure your head is on the ground. So you can kind of start on one side here and roll. So shoulders on the blankets, head on the ground. The most important thing about this posture is that you do not look from side to side, because your vertebrae in your neck can be very strong, but they really don't like to bear weight and turn at the same time. So you're pressing your head against the ground, making sure that you look straight up toward the sky. And then you're going to just kind of play with this little by little and see what you can do. Make sure you're breathing as you go up. So you can grab onto your mat. I did not move my mat for this one, but you can grab onto your mat and get your shoulders underneath you a little bit more. Then you're going to push into the wall, get the shoulders underneath you a little bit more. If you're feeling really comfortable here, bring your hands to your back. So this is a nice modified position. My feet are on the wall. I'm not in a full shoulder stand yet. If I'm a little tight in my shoulders, my elbows are going to be flaring out to the side. So the goal is to get the shoulders, elbows underneath you a little bit more. And then eventually you may want to take one leg up and kind of play with it. If this is new for you, a good way to figure out your balance and your weight is to take your legs over you a little bit so that you can keep those hips over you, gently pressing the back of your head into the ground, breathe deeply. You can play with this. You can go into halasana, which is plow pose, taking your legs down. Not everybody can get here, so don't feel like you have to come to the ground, but it's a thought, putting the feet on the ground. Some people, the Ashtanga practice pulls in, knees in towards your chest and towards your ears. So that's another variation. It really doesn't matter. As long as you have something where you feel challenged but not feeling like your neck is doing too much work. Should be a lot of weight in the shoulders here. So play with this. When you do come back to the wall, if you're off the wall, do not take both legs to the wall at the same time. If you do, it's just the way physics works. Your hips are going to crash to the ground. So when you come back to the wall, put one foot on the wall and then the other foot on the wall, and then you can lower down without crashing. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come into a back bend after this. So once you're down, give yourself a couple more moments to come down. And then we're going to do a back bend. So you can slide away from the wall just a little bit, and I'll demonstrate what is next. So the opposing posture here is you're going to take your hands and slide them under your hips, palms of the hands down, and then roll your shoulders underneath your back, and then see if you can wiggle your fingers down so that they're under your thighs and not under your hips. So you see my fingers there, shoulders on my back, and then bend the elbows, and then let the head hang back. So you're doing the exact opposite thing to the spine that you just did in shoulder stand. And if this doesn't feel very good, you can put a block under your head, or you can put the top of your head to the ground. And then if you want to add a little bit of core, you can lift one or two legs up. And that's a lot of low belly right there. All right, lift your head and relax. Release your arms. Take a moment and rest in Shavasana. All right, let's do a happy baby dead bug. Slide your feet in, grab your big toes, rock from side to side. All right, we're going to go into another hip opener, and this is like the stereotypical pretzel yoga posture that everybody thinks yoga is, right? So we're not necessarily going to go for the full-blown posture, but what's really interesting about the posture as you move toward it is that you're getting a lot of really good hip stuff out of it. So the posture eventually is foot behind the head, but I honestly don't care about that at all. So what you're going to do is start by grabbing the outside of your right foot. So your right foot is flat facing the ceiling. Your left foot can be on the ground, or you can extend, your choice. You're going to gently pull the right knee toward the right armpit, and you're not trying to get to a place. I used to be so aggressive about this when I was younger that I would like hear my hip pop as I did this. So no hip popping. If you feel the hip popping, back off a little bit and don't go so deep. So your right knee comes down and then pushes up, right knee comes down. You're just testing out how flexible your hips are in different directions. So you're coming down and you're working a little bit of the hamstrings and where the hamstrings come in, the insertion points there. So down and up, just kind of playing with it. And then you're going to point your knee out to the right. So you're just opening up your hip as if you're in pigeon. So right knee is out to the side now. Right foot is coming into the midline a little bit more. Breathing deeply here. And again, you can go for straight leg or bent leg on this left foot. And now you're going to grab the foot with both hands. And you're going to swing that leg gently from side to side. It may not go very far from side to side. You can allow your body to go with it. So you're just going to go out and in, out and in. And the reason why we're doing this now is we're moving into external rotation of the leg in the hip socket. So just kind of playing with it. Stretch the knee out, stretch the knee in. And then you're going to get a little bit more involved with your core. So now you're going to bring your head and shoulders up, and you're also going to stretch your right knee out to the side and then gently pull your right foot in as if you're trying to make a phone call to your right foot. If your head hurts or your neck hurts, you're going to put a block under your head here. So stretching out, shoulders off the ground, pretend you're trying to make a phone call to your right foot. Nice big inhales and nice big exhales. All right, wherever your foot goes, wherever your knee goes is fine. You're just trying to get that right knee pointing out to the right, get a little external hip rotation. Now you're going to switch hands. So you're going to take that left hand over the top of your right foot and grab the pinky edge of your foot. Then you're going to take the right arm through the gap that you just made. So you just made this loop between your left hand and right foot. Right arm goes through that gap, and then you're going to grab your left knee as if you're driving a stick shift car. And if you can't grab the knee, grab the shin. So grab whatever you can. Then you're going to push that knee forward, which is going to pull your right shoulder forward. At the same time that you do that, stretch your right knee out to the side, and eventually that left arm is going to come somewhere near your left ear. And you're just going to hang out wherever you hang out. The whole point here is that you're doing a lot of things at once. So you're feeling your outer right hip, you're feeling your core, you're getting a twist, you're getting a shoulder opener. So nice deep breaths here. And yeah, with a lot of practice, if the goal is to get the foot behind the head, that's where you go someday. So breathe deeply. If you're feeling this on the outside of your right hip and your IT band down the outside of your right thigh, you're in good shape, and you're using some good core muscle here as you do this little twist. All right, release. Let's go for the other side. So left foot up, left foot flat to the ceiling. Grab your pinky edge of your left foot, pull that left knee down. And again, don't want hip popping. So if your hip is popping, back off a little bit. Just pull the knee down and up. Straighten the leg and bend the leg. Straighten the leg and bend the leg. Just examining where your range of motion is. All right, let's move it into an external rotation of the hip. So you're going to point that knee out to the side a little bit. If you want to manually help your hip out, make sure that your left hand is down next to your hip socket and you're not pushing into your knee. So stretch that knee out, stretch that knee out. And again, just kind of find that external rotation, knee out, knee in, knee out, knee in. Should look a little bit like your Baddha Konasana or butterfly legs or pigeon legs. You're trying to get that knee straight out to the side. Which is why we did all that inner thigh stretching. All right, now let's try for a little bit more. So you're going to take your right hand, cross over the top of your, actually let's do the phone call first one. So head and shoulders up. Again, you can take that block and stick it under your head or shoulders if you need a little extra help, especially if that neck is mad. So breathe deeply. Pull that left foot in just a tiny bit. At the same time, you're stretching your left knee out to the side as if you're making a phone call to your left foot. So that's where your head and shoulders comes up, and you bow a little bit, use a little bit of core. Big breathing. Left side is almost always tighter than the right side if you're a right-hander, so don't expect this side to look the same. All right, now take the right hand over the top of the left foot. Grab the pinky edge of your left foot if you can. Take your left arm through the gap that you just made between your right arm and left leg. Take your left hand to the top of your knee or grab your shin. You're going to push your right knee forward, which is going to pull your left shoulder forward. At the same time, stretch your left knee out to the side and see if you can get your right arm next to your ear. Don't forget to breathe. All right, I'm gonna let that go and lie down. Walk your feet out to the sides of your mat. Drop your knees in toward each other. That'll give you a nice little curve in the low back, just in case anything got a little stretched or curved a little bit too flat. Get that curve back in there again. All right, let's windshield wiper the feet. So feet are on the outer edges of the mat. You're going to drop the knees over to the right side. Take your left ankle and place it on top of the right thigh near the knee. And look over your right shoulder. And you can apply a little bit of pressure with your left foot if you'd like. And then release that foot. Bring that foot to the side of the mat, the edge of the mat again. Drop your knees over to the right side. And then take your right ankle and place it on your left thigh and look over your left shoulder. All right, and then release that foot. And then you have a couple options. So after all the hip work we did, sometimes a really nice way to rest is to place your hips on a block, whether you want to do legs up against the wall, legs straight up, or whether you want to have your feet on the ground. Either way, this is a wonderful way to release low back tension. So you can hang out here or on the ground. We didn't do a ton of back bends, so if you are dying for a back bend, then you may want to take a block under your upper back and a block under your head, or use your bolster, wherever they get. And then that tip, the lower tip of that first block is right at the tips of the shoulder blades. And the top of the block usually is at about the top of the shoulders here. So you've got some options. And then just take some nice deep breaths. So as always, I encourage you to stay here a little longer for your Shavasana. Slow, deep breaths. If you do have somewhere to be and you need to be getting up, go ahead and do some nice big stretches, big inhales, stretching it out, big exhales, relaxing. Wiggling fingers and toes, just finding your body. And if you're choosing to stay in Shavasana, you can do this mentally to yourself. Bring your hands into your heart center. Bring your hands up to your forehead for kind thoughts, down to your lips for kind words, and down to your heart center for kind intentions. And sending some peace out there into the world and to yourself. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.